I never thought a misplaced comma could cost me a personal attack dog in a suit. That's the hook line running laps in my skull as the summit hall hums around me, glass domes sweating with morning, light steel beams like crossed spears, the air bright and sharp with espresso and polished chrome. Cameras blink red. Translators murmur behind soundproof glass. I smile at the podium the way you smile at a wolf, politely, showing no fear. On behalf of the Southborough Pack, we welcome all delegations to a transparent dialogue, I say. It's crisp, clean, foolproof. My suit fits like a good lie, charcoal, narrow lapels, pockets square the color of a restrained threat. I move a fingernail's width to the left, so the press can catch the angle that makes me look 3% more competent. A hand raises. Another. The city is a mirror held up to our throats. Everything reflects, everything cuts. I take questions. I bat them back with practiced warmth. I make a joke about our coffee being strong enough to turn an omega feral. Laughter. Not bad. Breathe. Stay charming. Be the firework and the extinguisher. Then it happens. One sentence slips out, slick with nerves. I say, the chair of the Northern Coalition has led with a collar of order. In my language, it's a metaphor. In the translator's ear, it mutates. I see the interpreter's eyes flicker. I hear the whisper spill through 10 headsets in 10 accents, and the room tightens. Dictator, in a designer collar, a reporter repeats aloud, delighted, like they've caught a fish with teeth. The hall goes cold. Every camera leans forward. The northern chair's mouth does something slow and feline. He's a large man with iron hair and a taste for fairness, which is to say, he likes to win cleanly. His bodyguard moves before the chair does, a shadow unpeeling from a column. I know that shadow. Everyone here knows that shadow. Colt. I'd met him once at a security briefing. He spoke 7 words. None of them were wasted. He's tall, built like gravity, decided to sit down and never get up again. Dark suit. No tie. The kind of presence that leaves dents. Press Secretary Ryan, the summit coordinator hisses in my ear, voice crisp with panic. Do not move. Stay pleasant. We are resolving. Absolutely, I murmur with a camera-ready smile. I'll stand here and rephrase until we all forget nouns exist. Across the glassy expanse, Colt's gaze locks on me. It's not a glare. Glares are emotional. This is colder. Like a scope focusing. His nostrils flare. His shoulders tilt half an inch, and the guard line around the northern chair opens just enough for him to walk through. I hear my heartbeat under the mic like a second, smaller sound system. We are committed to mutual respect, I say brightly, tongue tip pinned between teeth. A translator's miscue. I meant a collar as in, orderly framework. No implication of fashionable dictatorship. A laugh snorts out of someone. Not helpful laughter. The northern chair lifts one hand. He doesn't need to signal to Colt. The man is already moving, steady and quiet. I finish with a bow too shallow for apology, too deep to be arrogance. The moment the coordinator cuts the feed, the room explodes, voices, chairs scraping, the hiss of angry whispers. I step back and nearly collide with him. Up close, Colt has a face like a cliff, silent and carved by time. Gray eyes. Not silver. Not storm. Just the exact color of a choice you don't want to make. Ryan, he says, and my name sounds like a diagnosis. I'm so glad you're here, I chirp. I was about to faint theatrically, but now you'll catch me. His gaze drifts over me head to toe, not in appreciation, not even in suspicion. More like he's measuring a crate. You will come with me. Tempting? I tuck a smile behind my molars. But I'm needed for follow-up statements. And there's a city to charm. You are needed not to escalate, he says, stepping a fraction closer. The faintest hint of a scent hovers. Clean, like rain on brushed steel. You will come with me. Now. Right, I say. Yes. Let's pretend I'm obedient for ambiance. We cross the corridor. Ziggurats of glass throw our reflections back at us. A parade of Ryans and Colts marching forever. I keep pace, because being dragged is not my aesthetic. Security nods at him, and the air shifts around his shoulders the way it does around storms. He doesn't touch me, but it feels like he could, and that is somehow worse. Where are we going, Captain Charisma? He answers without looking at me. Your room. You are under protective watch until the end of the summit. I stop. He does not. I watch his back move 1 step, 2, before he turns, slow. Like someone winding down a machine. Protective watch? I repeat. As in, 24/7, he says. Your location, your visitors, your exits, your meals. I am your shadow. The city hum falls away. The word shadow lands somewhere soft inside my ribs and hisses. I laugh, and it edges into something bright and brittle. I think you mispronounced house arrest. Call it what you need to call it, he says. Move. Is this mandatory? He watches me, not unkindly, but with no room in him for kindness right now. Given the incident, he says, and somehow makes the word sound like a minor earthquake, yes. We ride the elevator to the 49th, where the hotel peels away from business and pretends to be comfort. My room is all city, floor-to-ceiling windows, furniture you can't bruise, air that tastes like filtered lightning. I kick off perfect shoes and collapse into my perfect chair. The skyline is a line of teeth. Colt doesn't sit. He scans. Corridors of motion live in him. Check door, check window, check balcony, check me. When the silence gets too clean, I ruin it. I don't suppose you're a fan of reading out loud, I say. I have a memo about how not to insult northern warlords. And it's riveting. No answer. He lifts a water bottle from the minibar like it might attack him. Okay, I try again. Let's talk ground rules. I don't do leashes. I don't do schedules that end in ever. And I don't share beds, even with men who look like they can bench press my self-esteem. A muscle ticks in his jaw. I am not interested in your bed. Your loss, I sing-song, because if I don't, the quiet will eat me. He drinks, then finally speaks. Rules. You do not leave this floor. You do not speak to press without clearance. If you are required downstairs, I am with you. If you need air, you open the balcony door, and I stand in it. And if I need privacy? You have it, he says, with me outside the door. I'm not a flight risk, I say, aware even as I say it how unconvincing I sound. He doesn't argue. The corner of his mouth shifts a millimeter. Not a smile. An acknowledgement of the concept. I smell adrenaline, he says. Rude, I say, heat pricking my neck. Do you also smell my calendar? It says I owe a statement by noon. You owe safety. He moves to the window, the city reflects up his sleeve, a streak of light on dark cloth. Someone will want to use you to embarrass my alpha. If they break you to do it, they will still count it as a win. You talk like suffering is a spreadsheet. I talk like someone who's buried mistakes. I go quiet because there's marrow in his voice and it's surprising. He doesn't look at me when he says, you choose jokes when you're cornered. And you choose orders when you're scared, I say before I can stop myself. He faces me fully then. We regard each other across a neat coffee table and a mess of intentions. His eyes are not cruel. They are disciplined. Which might be worse. A knock at the door interrupts us, sharp, efficient. I answer before he can object. Jay slips in, soft as a rumor. He's our lead translator, an omega with a smile like a folded fan, precise, pretty, kind when it pays. He looks at me and only me. Hey, he says lightly, eyes bright with something like worry. I came to see if you were intact. Physically, yes, I say. Professionally, TBD. Jay's gaze flicks to Colt, then back. I can massage the transcript, he whispers. We can blame a glitch. I'll talk to the northern team. We do not fabricate records, Colt says. Jay tenses so minutely only a predator would see it. Colt sees it. The air in the room shifts a half-degree colder. Of course, Jay says, smile, never moving. I misspoke. I did the misspeaking, remember? I say. Let me fix it. You will fix nothing for the next 12 hours, Colt says. You will not leave this room unless you are dying or the building is on fire. Noted, I say. I'll schedule my death for 15 minutes past never. Jay laughs dutifully. I'll leave you to your arrangement, he says, flicking me a quick, unreadable look. At the door, he lowers his voice. Don't antagonize him. I am the picture of diplomacy, I assure him. Jay's eyes dart to Colt. Keep your picture indoors. After he's gone, Colt stands by the door for a long breath, listening to a hallway I can't hear. He relocks with a single efficient motion. Friend? He asks. Colleague, I say. Who enjoys saving me from myself. He enjoys something, Colt says, like he's filing away a scent, a posture, a heartbeat pattern. I enjoy being alive, I reply. So if your plan includes a nap, I'm very pro. No nap, he says. He tilts his chin toward the balcony. Air. 5 minutes. I can breathe just fine in here. You'll breathe where I can see the periphery. Is this really necessary? He steps into my space then, not touching, never touching. But the room shrinks. I look up at him and understand suddenly that necessary is not the measurement he uses. He uses effective. You are not marked, he says, low. It's not a question. The word slides under my skin. I hold my face still. Correct, no mark, no ties, no borrowed gravity. His nostrils flare once. You smell like freedom and a dare. The sentence startles both of us. He adjusts it. Which is appealing to hunters. I'm not prey. No, he says. You bite. I should not like the way he says it. I do. I let out a breath I hadn't noticed I was holding, then I step past him onto the balcony. The city hits me, exhaust and rain, hot stone and electric promises. People are ants, traffic a necklace of light. Colt plants himself in the doorway, a dark line between inside and out. If danger came, it would meet him first. The idea tilts something in me I keep very carefully level. Tell me, Shadow, I say, leaning on cool glass. Are you always this fun at parties? Rarely invited, he says. Same, I confess. I'm usually hired. A beat. The wind snags my tie. He reaches out without thinking and smooths it back against my chest. Fingers brush silk, then air. I go still. He does too. Apologies, he says. It's fine. My voice is too light. I clear it. It was off balance. His gaze flicks to my throat, then away, fast. Do not give anyone your back this week, he says, and the sentence is not about posture. Good thing I've got you glued to it, I say, trying for flippant and failing halfway. He holds my eyes a moment longer than is comfortable. Good thing, he echoes, as if he's testing whether the words are true. Somewhere below us, sirens start the day. Somewhere above us, drones blink. In here, coffee goes cold in its cup. My phone buzzes with a dozen disasters I'm not allowed to touch. I straighten my cuffs, recenter the part in my hair, and inventory the armor I still have. Humor, posture, a dangerous mouth. Behind me, the nightmare in a suit keeps his vigil, and the scent of rain on steel threads the room like a binding I refuse to name. I never thought a comma could cost me a bodyguard. I also never thought a bodyguard could feel like a choice I'm already making. And that's the problem with shadows. Sometimes they don't just follow you. Sometimes, if you're not careful, they learn your steps. By noon the arrangement stops being rumor and becomes paperwork. A stiff man from coordination arrives with a tablet and a smile crusted in policy. Colt stands at my shoulder, a pillar wearing a suit, while the man reads clauses about protective, oversight, risk mitigation, and my favorite, temporary curtailment of unsupervised mobility. I love that for me, I say. Supervised mobility. So chic. Sign, Colt says, barely glancing at the text. Do you always encourage civilians to endorse their own imprisonment? I always encourage people to do the sensible thing, he replies. I take the stylus with a theatrical sigh and add my signature. Then, because theater is oxygen, I add another, on my own stationery which I slide from my folder with a flourish. Formal complaint of spatial invasion and other indelicacies, it reads, in a clean serif. To Agent Colt, surname omitted out of respect and mild fear. From Ryan, press secretary, person, citizen, lover of door locks. The occupation of my personal bubble. Dear Sir. It has come to my attention that my air molecules are increasingly shared with a man who believes walls are for leaning and not for privacy. I am lodging an official complaint regarding the following. Standing in door frames like a decorative gargoyle. Smelling like rain on sheet metal and therefore ruining coffee. Breathing near my neck while reading my schedule. I request remedies including but not limited to a. Announcing footsteps. B. A 5-foot radius of grace unless imminent death applies. C. Sharing the armrest when morally appropriate. Respectfully and rebelliously. Ryan. I sign with a flourish and hand it to him. The coordinator pretends to be a wall. Colt reads the note. His face remains an ocean at rest, but something low tide shifts. Received, he says. He tucks it into his jacket. I'll file it. With who? Me, he says, and that should not be funny. It almost is. The coordinator flees. Colt sets rules again, the same ones, spoken like weather reports. Floor only. Balcony breathing. Clearance for everything. If you run, he says, I will bring you back. I don't run, I lie. He glances at my socks. I realize too late that I'm wearing the ones with tiny sprinting shoes embroidered along the cuff. I pull my trouser hem down like that will erase evidence. I need coffee, I say. The good kind. Downstairs. Fine, he says. 5 minutes. We take the elevator to the lobby cafe. It smells like roasted nuts and ambition. I order a triple shot with a name so long it sounds like a song. Colt orders black coffee, which tracks. We sit in the corner where a green wall promises nature without dirt. I pretend I'm free. It's performance art. I cross my leg, angle my jaw to catch light, open my notes, and almost convince myself that the man across from me is here for my charm and not my perimeter. You're staring, I say, without looking up. I'm watching, he says. Semantics are a hobby of mine. Want a lesson? No. My phone pings. J. Hallway outside cafe. 2 minutes. I type back, smile pretty. Then I say aloud, restroom, because I enjoy discovering new ways to test fences. Colt stands when I do. I'll wait at the door. Of the restroom? I snort. Even you wouldn't. Hall door, he corrects. And you have 60 seconds. 60? I widen my eyes. Cruel. He says nothing. Sometimes silence is a rope, and you only notice when you tug. The restroom is empty, gleaming, absurd. I wash my hands, because I like the smell of bergamot soap, and because my brain needs rituals. The window above the sinks is one of those ridiculous hotel fictions, a narrow pane that tips open exactly enough to let in noise. Noise and a possibility. I check my watch. 40 seconds. Don't, I tell the mirror. The mirror has seen me do worse. I tip the pane. City breath blows in, hot and metallic. The alley below is a tidy drop to a service awning. It's not impossible. It's stupid. My specialty often wears stupid's hat. 30 seconds. I swing a leg up. Smooth trouser, slippery sill. Adrenaline scythes through my veins. What part of don't sounded like a dare, I mutter, and then I hear it. Ryan. Not loud. Not angry. My name like a thumb pressed lightly to my wrist, counting my pulse. He's in the door. I didn't hear it open. He takes in the angle of my knee, the window, the stupid-shaped opportunity, and in 3 strides he's beside me. He doesn't drag me down. He does something worse. He closes the window with 2 careful fingers and looks at me for a long, silent beat. Do I look like a flight risk? I ask, breathless, trying to anchor it as a joke. You look like gravity offends you, he says. I hop down, adjust my cufflinks, pretend my heart isn't trying to fight a war with my ribs. I was just evaluating building code compliance. Fine, I say. Add windows to your watch list. It's already on it, he says. We return to the cafe. Jay slides in from nowhere, bright smile, careful eyes. You made it downstairs. I'm impressed. I make it places, I say. Ask my enemies. Jay presses a paper bag into my hand. Pastry, he says, too casually. His fingers are a fraction cold. Also, I spoke to the northern team. We can soften what happened if you issue a clarification tonight. Colt's gaze turns. There will be no side discussions. If a clarification is needed, it will be approved. Jay's lashes lower. Of course. Our eyes meet. I see worry, yes, but something else hard glittering underneath. Like a pebble in a shoe he refuses to remove. Thanks for the pastry, I say. I love edible anxiety. Try to stay still, Jay says, with a little laugh that doesn't belong to his body. He touches my wrist in farewell, and leaves a ghost of citrus behind. Colt watches the door close. He is tense. He's always tense during events, I say, too quick. He is tense in a way that makes his hands cold, Colt replies. Cold hands lie. That's not a proverb. It is now. We finish coffee. On our way back, fate, or building maintenance, conspires. The elevator shudders 3 floors up and sighs to a halt. Oh good, I say to no one. I was hoping to practice breathing in a small box with my chaperone. It will start again, Colt says. He presses the emergency call. His shoulders fill the cabin like it was custom built for him. He plants his palm against the rail by my hip to steady us both. The car lists a degree. We sway together, bodies finding balance the way bodies do. There's a soft thunk, and then nothing. The emergency light clicks, bathing everything in a forgiving gold that would flatter a corpse. You're calm, I say, as if testing him. I prefer problems with walls, he answers. Because walls can't run? Because walls can be held? I huff a laugh that isn't entirely humor. Sweat tickles the back of my neck. The car is warm, his presence is warmer. If I take half a step back, my shoulder will be against his chest. I don't. Not because I'm good, but because I know I won't stop at half. Tell me a story, I say, trying for light. Distract me. Something pastoral. Ducks. Ducks? The corner of his mouth twitches, which should be listed as a civic event. Or the time you learned origami to fold your feelings. I learned to breathe through pain, he says. It was not origami. Who taught you? Silence. Elevator silence is different. It soaks. He takes a slow breath. And I feel it in the way my own lungs try to mirror him. My sister, he says. The word lands soft and sharp. I turn my head, just enough to catch his profile. It's a good one. Is she alive, he says. Angry at me most days. Which is how I know she is alive. Anger is cardio, I say quietly. She saved me once, he continues. From thinking control was the only way to keep people. I stare at the panel. Buttons gleam like tidied stars. Control is cheaper than grief, I murmur. At checkout, he looks down, and for a heartbeat the air changes. He smells me, I realize. He's always smelled me, but this is different, unhidden, unpolite. The way wolves read chapters by scent while humans are still on the title page. The emergency light hums, heat blooms between my shoulder blades. I swallow. You're breathing weird, I say. I am breathing, he says, but there's grit in it. Is this where you tell me my stress pheromones are gauche? Your scent, he says, voice low, steady fraying, is not helping. I blink. Excuse me? It spikes when you lie, he says. When you try to bolt. When you decide to be brave at the wrong angle. I am aware. Oh, I say, because my brain is suddenly an empty conference room. Well, apologies for existing so aromatically. He looks like he's about to answer when the elevator groans and lurches. The floor rises. We both grab the rail. The cabin hiccups to life and climbs. All civilized again. The doors open on 49 with a prim little chime. See? I say. Walls obey you. They obey mechanics, he says, but he's almost smiling. Or maybe I want him to be. Back in my room I deposit the pastry by the window and pretend I will eat it later and not tear it apart like a raccoon in a tuxedo. Colt does his perimeter ballet, door, window, balcony, me. He stops a fraction closer than before, like some inner math brought him there. I'm drafting another complaint, I announce, sinking into my chair. He arches an eyebrow. For what grievance? Offending my peace with your existence, I say. Working title. File away, he says. His voice is even again. But when he turns to the glass, the reflection shows a man exhaling slowly, as if recalibrating an instrument. I watch his shoulders move with that breath. Mine try to match and fail, stuttering, unpracticed. Outside, the city wears late afternoon like a handsome coat. Inside, the air is bright with bergamot and coffee, and something steel true I'm trying very hard not to name. I didn't make it out the kitchen. I didn't make it out the window. I did make it to a truth I don't want. Whatever leash this is, I put part of it on myself. And whether or not I'm marked, my shadow is learning the rhythm of me. Heart, breath, lie, laugh. When he says I'll bring you back, I think he means to safety. When my skin hears it, it translates to home. That might be the most dangerous mistranslation yet. The banquet is an aquarium built for politics, glass on polished marble. The city poured out beneath us like a galaxy that forgot how to be subtle. A string quartet saws something elegant near a sculpture that looks expensive and sad. Trays of canapes pass by like migrating birds. There's a fountain that whispers about clean money. I shine because that's my job. Charcoal suit with a midnight sheen. Cufflinks like small moons. Hair behaving as if bribed. I catch cameras with one eye and diplomats with the other, a smile ready for every shoreline I dock at. Behind me, always just outside my peripheral, a shadow keeps my edges from fraying. Colt doesn't stand in the middle of things, he occupies margins and turns them into borders. He's a silent architecture, in a room full of people who love the sound of their own cleverness. I swear I can feel his attention like an invisible hand at the back of my jacket, straightening the line when I lean. Mr. Ryan, purrs a voice at my right, accented in a way the press finds photogenic. I turn into a grin. The delegate is tall for an alpha, tailored within an inch of arrogance. His lapel pin glitters with the Northern Coalition's crest, and his cologne arrives a half-second before he does. It's a sophisticated blend of cedar and intention. "Welcome to our city of light and litigation," I say. "Your city is beautiful," he murmurs, gaze sliding over the view and then, deliberately, over me. "One could get lost in it. Map included." I angle my glass. "Fine print, beware of commas." He laughs, pleased to be in on the joke. Ah, the famous translation. I admire a man who can survive a scandal and still look unruffled. "Oh, I'm ruffled," I say. Just internally, like a very expensive pillow. He steps closer. That's not unusual. This is a room where proximity is currency. But he steps closer again, cutting my line of sight to the glass. The space between us compresses. My instincts recoil and preen at the same time. "You must be unattached," he says, voice dipping. "It would be a waste otherwise, all that brightness tied down." "I'm famously difficult to tie," I reply, light glass chiming in my throat. "Elastic at best." "Elastic can be fun." He leans, his knuckles brushing my sleeve like a rumor. "We should discuss a private statement later." The hairs on my forearms rise, a tiny army. I tilt my chin, open my mouth, and then I stop. Because something else arrives in the room before words do. A pressure, a shift from the corner, like gravity remembering itself. Colt doesn't appear, he materializes. One breath he's a boundary across the room, the next he's a winter line behind my shoulder. He doesn't touch me. He doesn't have to. The delegate's eyes flick to him, and then decide incorrectly not to bother. "Agent," the alpha says, dismissive in a way that looks cheaper up close. "Delegate," Colt answers. The single word slots into the conversation like a key. "We were talking strategy," the alpha says to me, pointedly ignoring him. "Off record." "Everything is on some record," I say, smiling with teeth. "Not if you're clever," he says, inching closer again. The move is small, the message is not. We are suddenly sharing air in a way the treaty does not regulate. Colt shifts. His presence goes from winter line to weather event. It's not aggressive. It's absolute. "Step back," he says. The alpha's lips part on a little incredulity. "We are at a diplomatic banquet, agent. Try to behave." "My job is behavior," Colt says, voice deep and unornamented. "Step back." I feel the room watching without turning to look. The alpha leans in, his breath going warm near my ear. "You could have better company," he murmurs. "Later." It happens faster than the quartet can blink. Colt's hand comes up, palm not even touching fabric, and somehow the alpha stops moving. It's like a quiet thrown into the air that lands exactly where it needs to. The delegate laughs, brittle. "This is unnecessary," he says. "Press secretaries enjoy company, don't you?" He asks me, and the me that talks to cameras starts to answer. But a different process kicks in, lower and messier. It's not thought. It's not language. It's scent and heat and the animal math my body keeps hidden behind good tailoring. I smell Colt, rain on steel, threading through cedar and cologne, and the thread finds something inside my ribcage and pulls. For a blink, the room narrows to that chemistry, a sketched line drawn between us in a color only wolves see. I swallow. "I enjoy many things," I say, voice steadier than I feel. "Consent is my favorite." The alpha's mouth tightens. "Be careful, little Omega. I can make or unmake public weather." "Then try sunshine," I say, and there it is. My line in the marble. Colt doesn't move. The alpha steps back, barely. I breathe again. The room releases, its noise returning in ribbons. The alpha smiles in a way that means this isn't over, and drifts away to someone more interested in becoming a story. "Subtle," I say under my breath. "Love the part where you almost started an international incident with your eyebrows." "Your boundaries were being tested," Colt says. I can say, "No." "You did," he allows. "After your heart rate spiked." Stops sniffing my cardio. His eye flicks to the side. Not a smile. An acknowledgement of humor's existence, endangered but not extinct. "Balcony," he says. Now. Outside, the rain is a black silk curtain. The city smears under it, lights gone watercolor. I step into the cool, and my skin thanks me by becoming honest. Colt stands in the doorframe, of course he does, one shoulder against glass, the other caging the air with his shape. The quartet bleeds into the night, a memory of elegance. That was unnecessary, I say. Necessary tends to arrive before polite, he says. Do you start all your sentences with morality plays? Only when they concern you, he replies. And a streak of heat slides down my sternum with those last two words. I take 2 steps into the rain's breath and let it frizz my composure. You're not my owner. Correct. You're not my leash. Correct. Then stop smelling like you want me to be, he says. The words crack the night. They're not loud, but they strike something conductive. My mouth opens. Nothing comes out for a second. I want to say excuse me? Or how dare you? Or you're wrong. The problem is I can't find the third thing. The scent between us tenses. There is no mark. There has never been a mark. I built my life around that absence. I swore on it. And yet sometimes the air compresses like we're the same chord trying to resolve. That's not... I start. It spikes when you're cornered, he says, not moving. When you're brave. When you want, and hate that you want. I stare at the skyline. Cars line up like apologies, the river glows like a vein. Inside, cutlery pings on porcelain. Out here, my chest is doing that uneven percussion it does when fight and flight shake hands. Even if that were true, I say, crisp. It's information you shouldn't use. I am using it to keep you safe. From what? I throw him a look. Men with cologne and careers, from myself? His jaw works like a sentence he's not sure he should say. From decisions you'd regret. I regret lots of things, I snap. Mostly haircuts. And commas. The rain deepens. He takes half a step out, not to me, to the edge. A sentinel reconsidering the line. A drop finds his cheek, he doesn't blink it away. For a second his guard rearranges, not lowered, Colt never lowers, but reconfigured, like furniture moved to make room for guests. I know what control costs, he says, quiet. I have paid it. And I know what people do with borrowed control, I answer. They decide they own the receipt. He exhales. The sound finds my ribs and leans. I'm not here to own you. Good, I say. Because I'm not for sale. Thunder brushes the city's back. In the angle of light and water, his eyes look almost not gray, picking up hostile gold from the banquet. I have the idiotic thought that he's beautiful when he's trying not to be a person. You should avoid him, Colt says at last. I avoid furniture that bruises, I say. Men are case by case. Case denied, he says. But it lands like please. I turn back toward the room. The glass reflects us. Me damp with weather, him dry and braced in a doorway like a theme. I step around him to re-enter and catch a sliver of motion in the corner beyond the coat room. Jay, head tipped. Close to a beta I recognize from logistics, their conversation the taut thread of a violin's high note. Jay's hand twitches mid-air, a phrase cut off. The beta's mouth is a thin straight line. Hold on, I say. But Colt is already looking that way, nostrils barely flaring. Later, he says. Later, he repeats. You have 5 minutes to glow, and then we go. I slip back into the glitter like it was tailored for me. It was. I do the rounds. I laugh without showing throat. I charm a columnist who thinks he invented metaphors. I watch Jay from across rooms and think about citrus and cold fingers and the way secrets make posture heavier. Every time I pivot, a shadow adjusts. Every time a shoulder leans into me, a winter line moves closer, calibrated, to the exact millimeter where safety doesn't become ownership. When we finally leave, the quartet is folding silence into their cases and the city is a wet throat. The corridor behind the gallery hums fluorescent, less grand, more honest. We pass the coat room. Jay emerges with his smile folded and pocketed, eyes smoothing when they land on me. Hey, he says. Successful sparkle? I refracted responsibly, I say. You. Translation never ends, he answers, and if words could sweat, his would. See you in the morning? Earliest, I say. He glides away. The beta doesn't follow. He's already gone, like a cut scene. In the elevator, it's just us and the hum. My reflection looks well put together and strangely tired, as if the glass can count choices. Colt stands with feet set and hands easy, the stance of someone who has learned to be calm in boxes. What was that scent on you earlier, he says, so casually it isn't. Which one? I ask. Guilt, or bergamot? Citrus, he says. Jay's cologne, I say. You're very perceptive. It was colder than cologne, he murmurs, but either he lets it go, or there's nowhere to put it yet. The floors tick by. The doors open on our level. Back in my room, I'd take off my jacket like it's armor that did its job. Colt does his perimeter, each check a quiet prayer to caution. I go to the window because looking down at a city reminds me I am small on purpose. You're not my owner, I say again, softer, like checking a lock. Correct, he says from behind me. And I don't want. I try, and my body betrays me with an inhale that tastes like him. He lets me hang there, hooked on a sentence with no clean end. Good night, Ryan, he says finally, and turns to the hall. Good night, Shadow, I answer. And stare at the rain until the glass fogs with breath I can't quite slow. The mark doesn't exist. Nothing binds us. And yet when I close my eyes, my mind does a stupid tender thing. It remembers his hand not touching my sleeve, and still stopping a man, his scent threading between cedar and cologne, my name spoken like a choice. In a room built to be cold, it is suddenly very hard not to be warmed by that. I don't mean to hear it. I'm just trying to steal 5 minutes from my chaperoned life. The banquet is burned down to embers. The gallery is a skeleton of light. Colt escorts me through a staff corridor toward the bank of private elevators, and I ask, sweetly, professionally, for a restroom stop. He posts himself outside, a lock that breathes. I wash my hands, count to 30 for the sake of rebellion, and slip out the service exit instead of the main door. The technical corridors are a different city. Bare concrete, humming conduits, the air flavored with dust and electricity. My shoes click on paint-stained floors, and my heart does the kind of fast that makes you feel newly hatched. I plan to turn left and circle back, just to prove I can still draw my own lines. Voices turn me right. They're close, muffled by a half-open utility room. I recognize the first before the second. Jay's voice has a silken hinge even when he whispers. Tonight, he says, too low for the rest to carry, no deviations. The delivery is scheduled for the hour the press feed resets. Delivery. The word lands like a cold coin in my palm. The other voice belongs to a beta from logistics, square shoulders, clipboard manners. And the guard? Distracted, Jay answers. He won't leave his post. He rarely leaves his post. Colt. I don't move. I don't breathe. The beta grunts. Who handles the package? Someone who owes a favor, Jay says. You will not see them. Silence, like a sucked-out candle. Paper rustles. The corridor hums to fill the gap where sense should be. Afterward? The beta asks. Afterward the story will write itself, Jay says, and for the first time, tonight, I hear something like steel run under his beautiful grammar. My hand tightens on nothing. I back away, slow, careful, and walk the other direction, like a man who knows where he's going. At the corner, I inhale too fast and cough on cold air. I find the main door. I open it. Light and carpets and civilization spill over me. Colt looks up from where he's listening to a hallway I can't hear. 72 seconds, he says. Miss me? I say, too brightly. Always a little. It should be a joke. It doesn't arrive as one. I swallow, and tilt my chin toward the elevators. We should get you to your post. He corrects me without thinking. Get you to your room. Right, I say. And the neon that snakes under my skin whispers tell him now. But the elevator opens to a cluster of aides. The moment slides past like a bus you didn't wave at. We detour through the security room. Coordination requested a copy of the official feed for the morning briefing, and that requires a signature. It could be anyone's signature, but the kinds of people I anger prefer mine. The security room is all blue light and rectangles. Screens bloom along the walls, each a thin slice of the building's nervous system. Cameras watch with insect patience. A guard with an unfortunate mustache nods at Colt and pretends I am furniture. I sign the form and glance, just once, at the living mosaic. On one screen, a loading dock yawns like a quiet mouth. On another, the service corridor I just left is empty and humming. On a third, the night city spits steam into itself. Done, I say, handing the stylus back. Colt murmurs to the guard in a shorthand that has no verbs. I lean closer to the loading dock feed as if the pixels might talk. A truck sits with its engine off, rain making stippled silver of its roof. Delivery, Jay had said. Tonight. The word tastes like metal filings. Colt, I say. He turns at once. That's the thing about him, he doesn't make you earn access to his eyes. Yes. I heard something, I say, then lower my voice. Jay. With the beta from logistics. They use the word delivery. No deviations. The hour the press feed resets. It sounded like, not catering. He studies me the way a man studies a field before stepping into it. Where? Service corridor, third right after the gallery. Utility room with a half-open door. Who else heard? He asks. Just me, I say. Unless the dust took notes. He looks at the screens, then back at me. You are certain? I bristle. Ridiculous and earnest. I have two talents, speaking in complete sentences and eavesdropping on the wrong ones. This is not a joke. I'm not joking. His jaw shifts, a thought muscles along it. He gestures to the guard, and two camera views snap to life, our corridor, the dock. Both quiet. You told me last night, he says slowly, that you do not want a leash. Yes, I say, a little frost on the letters. Leashes are for the uncontrolled, he says. I cannot chase every shadow of a rumor because you want to move. Heat flares under my collar. This isn't about moving. It's about not dying on camera tomorrow. The guard's chair squeaks. He pretends to be air. Colt's gaze doesn't leave my face. Jay is your colleague, he says. You trust him. I thought I did, I admit, and the admission tastes like biting your tongue. Trust becomes a story we tell ourselves, when the alternative involves paperwork and grief. You are anxious, he says. Because I'm an adult mammal with a nervous system. Your scent is sharp. Stop narrating me. Silence kicks the leg of a chair. I exhale and try again, because sarcasm is a shield and I need a door. If I'm wrong, you've wasted 5 minutes and can punish me with another lecture on perimeters. If I'm right, we get to breathe tomorrow. He doesn't blink for 1, 2, 3 seconds. Then he speaks to the guard in the voice that moves steel. Pull the last hour of recordings from Service Hall 3. I want everybody entering or leaving the utility rooms. Set an alert for the loading dock. No unscheduled trucks. No unlabeled crates. The guard is gone before the sentence ends. Colt faces me fully. If you are lying, I'm not, I say, furious he'd need to say it and furious he's right to. And if you are mistaken, he amends, I will add utility doors to your list of hazards. It's already on my list, I say. Between colons, and men who think charm is consent. His mouth considers a smile and doesn't. Back to your room. I'm not a dog, I snap. No, he says. Dogs can be called off. That lands, meaner than he meant it, and we both hear it hurt. He inhales, a deliberate repair. Ryan. Save it, I say, and walk out before either of us does something pride will keep. Night pulls its jacket tight around the city. Steam scrawls itself down alleys. Cars hiss over wet streets. Signs write their names in pink and blue. Colt paces the perimeter of my room with a focus that could cut glass. I pace the opposite way, wearing a groove in a rug meant to be admired, not walked. Minutes stack like plates. The feed reset is at 2. At 1:41, my phone buzzes. A message from Jay. You awake? I stare at the screen until it becomes a white square. I type, barely. Then, long day. Then I delete both and put the phone face down on the table as if that will keep the night from reading me. Talk, Colt says quietly, from the balcony door. No, I say. Then listen. To what? He tips his head. Beyond the window, the city hum separates itself into components. The low burr of the generators on the neighboring roof. The distant siren like a violin in a bad mood. The pulse of the building's own heart in the walls. Somewhere below, a truck engine turns over, then dies. Delivery, I whisper. He doesn't move, but the room learns a new kind of still. At 1:56, my phone buzzes again. Clarification draft. Jay. I don't answer. Colt looks at me. I look at the city like it'll pass me a note. At 1:59 the lights in the building's spine blink and settle, the reset that wipes and rethreads official channels. My breath stutters. On the minute, Colt's earpiece cracks with a guard's voice. Dock 1. Unscheduled van. No plates. Colt is moving before the words end. Stay, he says, and slips into the hall. I learn that stay is a command my body despises. I make it to 4 before I follow. The service elevators at night feel like organs. Colt takes the stairs instead. Of course he does. And I run to keep him in sight. The stairwell is a cage for echoes, his footfalls are metronomes for bad ideas. We emerge into a floor of technical corridors that looks like the one from earlier. Because they all look like the one from earlier. The air is all metal and breath. We reach the security room by another door. Screens slice the dark. On dock 1, A plain van, door rolled up. A crate like a coffin on wheels. 2 figures in gray. One scans a badge that doesn't belong to them. Another lifts the lid. Freeze the frame, Colt orders. The image halts. The crate's inside is blurred with static. The guard curses at a fritz in the feed. Someone's ghosting the camera, I say, throat dry. Is that normal? No, Colt says. Already 3 moves ahead. Run the corridor cams between dock and service lift 2. We watch grayscale people become suspects. A figure passes camera 3, head bowed, hoodie up. Another trails, keeps watch. The hooded one holds, what? A box that could be pretty or deadly. The watcher presses a hand to an earpiece and smiles a little. The watcher is the beta from logistics. The hooded one lifts their head for a second, caught between angles. The camera catches half a face, a mouth I know better than I want to. Jay, I say. Colt doesn't look at me. His body tightens in ways only men who fight without moving can. You were right. I didn't want to be, I say. But the words arrive without color. Dispatch a team to Dock 1, he tells the guard. Lock down service lift 2. No exits without my voice. Alarms don't scream, they purr. A quiet rearrangement of permissions. The screens keep breathing their terrible blue. Back to your room, he says again. And this time the word is not punishment. It's thread. No, I say, because rebellion is a reflex. I can help. He turns then, face not a cliff for once, but weather that wants to break and won't. You help by surviving. Anger is my second language. I go to speak it and find the sentence isn't there. I'm tired of being a problem to solve. You are not a problem, he says. You are the thing I refuse to lose. The room tilts. The guard pretends to be a plant. I swallow down the part of my body that would like to become a lyric. We end up on the roof because we need air that hasn't been inside other people all night. The city sighs under us, steaming and alive. Neon writes scriptures on wet asphalt. My palms sting from gripping railings I don't own. I don't do marks, I say finally to the skyline. Not on my skin, not in my head. I don't do mine unless it's a blazer. I know, he says. I left a man once because he said the word always like it was a door he could lock. I don't let anyone clip a leash to my throat and call it love. Wind tugs at his jacket. He comes to stand 2 steps away, the distance he calculates when he wants to be close without making me decide. I don't trust leashes, he says. I don't trust the hand that holds them. Because it's too easy to pull? Because I've pulled, he answers. The words are raw enough to scrape. Once, when I was young and angry, my sister stood between me and something I thought I could control. I used my weight to move the world the way I wanted. The world moved, over her. I didn't hurt her body, I hurt her trust. It took years to stop calling that protection. I stare at the black slice of river. The wind smells like rain that hasn't fallen yet. Is she angry at me on most days, he says. And there's a tiny, unguarded smile. Which is how I know she's alive. Control's cheaper than grief at checkout, I say, echoing the elevator. But the receipt lasts longer. And costs everyone else, he says. We stand in that uneasy mercy for a few breaths. Steam drifts up from a vent. It touches my jaw like a warning and a blessing. Jay, I say. And the name is a bruise. I don't understand. People do stupid things in service of fear, Colt says. And in service of debt. Sometimes they confuse the two. I trusted him, I say. You can trust someone and not trust what they've chosen, he replies. Both can be true. Both can hurt. I laugh, because the alternative has teeth. You're getting good at sentences. You're a bad influence. A siren shaves the edges off the night. Colt's phone vibrates. He listens, says 3 words, hangs up. Interception in progress. No injuries. My knees go weak in a way I refuse to display. I grip the rail until cold metal argues with warm skin. Colt's hand hovers near my elbow, not touching, not claiming, just there, like weather with manners. I'm still not marked, I say, because I need the reminder out loud, like a lighthouse needs to hear itself. I know, he says. His voice is not reverent. It's careful. And I'm still a shadow. We look at each other then, really look. Like men meeting in a mirror after avoiding each other all night. Irritation still lives in the room, sharp and familiar, but there's trust threaded through it now. A thin wire holding up a bridge that did not exist this morning. Don't make me stay next time, I tell him. Don't make me choose between orders and you, he says. That's not fair, I whisper. No, he says. It's honest. We go back inside together, the door thudding shut on the city's wet heart. Down below, screens will hum, and men will put things back where they belong. Up here, something in both of us stays a little out of its cage, breathing. Neon and thinking about leashes we don't wear, and ties we don't admit. Trust is ugly at first. So is the truth. But the night, God help us, makes both look almost good. Morning sharpens everything cruelly. Lights burn too white, voices slice. And the podium looks like a guillotine with good PR. I stand behind it, and rehearse syllables, until they feel like coins I can pay the day with. Transparency, I say to my draft. Mutual respect. Clarification without capitulation. My mouth is steady. My hands are not. I keep them on the edges of the lectern like I'm steering a ship. Colt is a fixed star at the edge of the room. He speaks to no one. He speaks to the air by standing in it the way a door speaks to a hallway. His suit is immaculate. His jaw wired tight. The new perimeter protocols hum, extra checkpoints, stricter badges, eyes everywhere. We don't talk about the night. We don't say J or delivery, or you are the thing I refuse to lose. We don't say anything. He simply looks at my face, at my shoulders, at my mouth, and nods once like checking off a list. I nod back because there are languages without grammar, and we are fluent in one of them. The hall fills, journalists, delegates, aides who smell like caffeine and consequence. Cameras blink their little red eyes. The glass dome above us holds a cold morning sky like a held breath. I wait for the northern chair to arrive. I have lines ready for him, clean as scalpels. I have a joke in my pocket to make the room remember we are human. 2 minutes, an aide whispers. Colt shifts nearer to the aisle that leads to me. I shouldn't notice the scent of him over roasted coffee and fresh print, but I do. Rain on steel. Threaded fine through static. Remember, he says, voice low enough to be for the floor. If anything. I know, I say. If anything, get behind me. It's a stupid plan, but it's ours. The chair arrives to a ripple of attention. A tide moving toward a full moon. He takes his place with the calm of a man who's wrestled storms, and learned to comb his hair after. I meet his eyes, incline my head, and step up to the mouth of the microphone. On behalf of the Southborough Pack I begin, and our partners across the city The world tears. There's no warning, no cinematic swell. Just a white-hot crack and the sound becoming a wall that body-checks bone. Glass screams. Air punches my chest from the inside. The dome blooms into glittering knives, and the stage folds like paper. I'm moving before the part of my brain that names things catches up. I don't think. I don't choose. I pivot and slam into Colt, shoving him down, covering his head with my arms as the first rain of shards scythes the podium into confetti. The mic spits a strangled howl. The lights blink, stutter, die and resurrect in emergency red. Someone is screaming. Someone is always screaming. Sirens begin their climb from far away, and fire learns the room's name. Ryan, Colt says, except it's not a word, it's a sound made around a snarl. His hand locks on my waist and he rolls, putting his body between me and the ceiling. A plate of glass thunders into the boards where my back was. We become a stack of breath and intent. Go, I cough, throat full of dust and heat and a taste like pennies. We have to move. He pushes up, drags me with him, then stops, arrested mid-motion by something I don't understand until I do. The air around him shivers. His eyes are wrong. Silver not as a color but as a verdict. I've never seen him like this, not even at the edge of temper. The smell of him darkens, rain hitting hot iron, a storm choosing land. Colt, I say, awe and terror, and something else boiling under the same syllable. He doesn't answer me with a human mouth. It's not cinematic. It's not elegant. It's a physics problem solved in muscle. Bones slide under skin, fabric strains, teeth lengthen into meaning. And the man I call a shadow becomes a truth too large for speech. A wolf stands where a man was. Not a pretty fairy tale. A problem made of night. His coat drinks light. His eyes are the precise color of a blade edge. Shards glint along his shoulders like a failed attempt to crown him. We look at each other for one stunned heartbeat. Me with my throat all the way open. Him with a low sound rippling out of a chest now the size of a door. Okay, I say. Because my brain is a comedian with a death wish. Noted. The roof of the stage leans toward collapse. Fire crawls along a curtain, curious. The chair's guards are hauling him behind a wall of bodies. The press is an egg broken in the pan. Yolk everywhere, heat licking the edges. Smoke thickens, a fist closing. I grab a twisted metal rail with one hand, and Colt's rough with the other. With me! I shout into the chaos. I don't know if that's for him or for my lungs. He bares his teeth at the room like he'd like to take a bite out of the event and then turns, slotting himself so that my body is always in the shadow of his. We move. We don't run straight, running straight is for prey. We zag between overturned chairs and curled metal, under the shattered rib of a lighting rig. When the balcony groans, he shoulders me away a second before it decides to be floor. A reporter sobs my name. I keep moving. Safety first, statements later. It eats me to leave anyone, but the calculus is terrible and true. If I stop, we both become math. We exit the main hall through a side service door that's caved inward. Colt slams his weight into it. The metal screams but obeys. The corridor beyond is a red-lit artery, strobing, a siren's interior. Alarms pulse. The air tastes like wire, and the past. This way, I cough. Memory doing what maps can't. The tunnels of the building stitched together in my head from 10 boring tours I took because boredom is where survival keeps its spare keys. Service lift 2 is dead. Stairs. We descend. Emergency lamps wink alive as we pass, like the building is wincing awake. Colt's claws catch and release concrete with a sound that makes my skin lift in gooseflesh, not fear, recognition. Every time I stumble, his flank finds my hip, steadying me, guiding me around a fallen pipe, over a scattering of screws. Faster, I rasp. He looks back. Those eyes are impossible, and we increase speed without becoming stupid. The man is still in the wolf, you can see it in how he calculates, in how. He refuses to blow through the first open door just because it is open. A blast door ahead is half shut, jammed by some tired piece of machinery that never loved its job. Smoke pools at the ceiling, thick as a thought you don't want. My lungs protest. Colt plants his shoulder under the door and pushes. The muscle along his ribcage flares like a wave. The door groans, then grudgingly lifts enough for a human problem to slide through. Go, he rumbles, and the word lives in the bones of the world, not in the air. I'm not leaving you, I say, and it's stupid and bright and everything true about me. He huffs, a thick sound like a laugh dragged through gravel. Then he lowers, and I crawl, dust grinding my palms. On the other side I spin and brace, hands against cold steel. He pushes, I pull. The door agrees to be a door. He slips under, a streak of shadow, and in the process I see blood darkening the fur along his shoulder, not pouring but present. Later, I tell the wound, because I cannot fix it now, and naming things helps me not die. We move again. The corridor narrows and then vectors left, past storage cages full of chairs for events that will happen in a different universe. The building's belly hums. A sign points loading. Alley like a kindness someone remembered to give us. I shoulder the bar, the crash door flies wide and night hits like cold water. Rain hammers the alley, making silver confetti of everything left intact. The world is noise, sirens chewing on distance, a helicopter chopping up the sky, voices burning through radios. The city smells like itself, wet stone, electric anxiety, and underneath, through dust and copper and smoke, him. He steps out into the downpour, and becomes myth. The kind that leaves footprints. Steam ropes off his coat. The cut at his shoulder stains briefly, and then the rain tries to make a deal with it. He shakes once, sending a spray of water that jewels the dark. I need you, I say hoarsely, leaning into the storm to be heard. To follow me. He tilts that impossible head. The eyes are still Colt's. The part of me that kept secrets about wanting stops pretending it doesn't understand what it understands. Shadow, I say, and the word is ridiculous on a wolf's ear and perfect. With me. He comes. We keep to the wall. The alley doglegs through a cage of dumpsters and a tangle of old conduit. Twice, a security team barrels past the street mouth and doesn't look in because the rain wants us to be invisible, and for once I accept help from weather. Sirens swell, retreat, return. We move when they're loudest. At the alley's end, a service grate guards a short spill of stairs into the under-road maintenance path. The lock is the kind of stubborn that died 10 years ago and didn't hear about it. I pull a pin from my lapel, jam it into the hasp, and souvenir a trick from a childhood I pretend I never had. The lock coughs, considers, and gives up. We duck into the under-road. The lamps here are old and fluorescent, humming like thoughts I don't trust. Water threads down the walls, the floor is a shallow river. The noise above us dulls to a weather report. We stop at last, not because I want to, but because my lungs lay down their tools and ask for a union break. I brace my hands on my knees and pant, which is undignified and honest. Colt lowers onto his haunches with the quiet of an animal who remembers how to be motionless for hours. His shoulder bleeds in a way that scares me precisely because it isn't dramatic. "Hey," I say, voice shredded. "Look at me." He does, direct and whole, a thing with teeth making itself small enough for my fear. I reach, slow, every motion announced, to touch the ruff at his neck. My fingers sink into warm, rain-wet fur. A sound leaves my throat I didn't plan. Some stray animal in me answering the roll call. "I'm okay," I lie. "You're okay." The smell of him holds me up. Even through smoke and rain and the metallic aftertaste of panic, he threads my lungs and makes them remember the beat. I press my forehead to his for a second, because it's either that or fall apart. Something shifts, not in the world, in me. A tiny door unlatching. I don't want to name it. I will later, when there's bandages and sarcasm. Now I just breathe him. Rain and iron, and the clean note under both. That has been stalking me through rooms, and finally has me cornered. "We'll go to ground," I say, pulling back. There's a maintenance hatch 2 blocks on that opens into a service bay, then up and into the old warehouse row. Nobody watches what the city pretends it forgot. He flicks his ears as if to say lead. So I do. We wade down the underroad, emergency light making saints of puddles. His shoulder brushes my thigh from time to time, not clinging, calibrating. When the tunnel turns, and a low door waits with rust like frost along its edges, I think for the first time since the blast that after exists, we climb into a narrow stairwell that smells like rope and history. At the top, the hatch gives us to a rain-lashed alley kissing a warehouse wall. The city reassembles itself above us. Sirens, choppers, wet neon prayer. We stand there a second. 2 creatures on the cusp of a different chapter. I touch his shoulder, and he lets me. "Good," I whisper, and don't know if I mean the root, or him, or the awful. Simple fact that I can still smell him, and therefore I am still living. We melt into the rain. My suit is wrecked, my hair is unscripted, my mouth tastes like emergency. But my shadow is at my side, and I have never been more certain of the route. For once, I don't want to outrun him. I want him there, big, impossible, mine only in the way a storm can be yours when you're the one it doesn't strike. We find a warehouse that the city pretends not to own anymore. Brick ribs showing. Windows punched out. A sign that once said freight now saying nothing at all. The rain has been chewing on it for years. The door yields to a shoulder and a bad attitude. Inside, the air tastes like wet metal and memories. I kick debris away with a shoe that used to have opinions about marble floors. "Romantic," I croak, and then cough up smoke like a magician's failed trick. Colt pads in behind me, a shadow with breath. He's still a wolf, massive and black, rain slicking his coat into a map. The wound at his shoulder has matted the fur dark. It isn't pumping, but it is speaking, and I hate its voice. "Here," I say, pointing to a low platform that used to be a loading dock. "Up." He goes with the obedience of someone who doesn't hand it to many people. When he settles, I see the wrongness more clearly. A gash along the muscle, a bite of glass or metal that wanted a souvenir. "Stay," I whisper, because words help me be brave. I scout the room, a rusted sink, a first aid kit mounted on a wall like a dare, a coil of rope, a stack of mildewed tarps. The kit is surprisingly full. I break the seal with shaking hands. "Okay," I say, kneeling. "I'm going to touch you." He lowers his head as if offering me the sky. I tear open saline with my teeth and pour. Blood goes pink, and then honest. He doesn't flinch, his breath is steady, measured by a metronome I want to live inside. The cut hisses under the liquid. Tweezers next. I find a shard of glass and pluck it. Another. I work until the clean outweighs the damage. "You could have died," I whisper, and the words come out hoarse and stupid and true. "Because of me." He lifts his head. Silver eyes hold mine, and the room remembers it has a ceiling. The sound he makes is not a growl, it's almost a hum. Then, like a tide going out, fur recedes, bones change their minds, and a man is sitting where a wolf lay, human. Again, bare to the waist, skin dappled by rain and dust, shoulder banded in a wound I've already learned. We don't look at the ruined suit pants hanging from his hips like a theory that didn't survive field testing. I wrestle the cleanest tarp around his shoulders like a makeshift cloak. He accepts it with the solemnity of a coronation gone wrong. I didn't die, he says softly. Because you were there. My throat does a ridiculous thing. I reach for the gauze and wrap his shoulder as if it's a promise. My hands shake. He doesn't comment on it. When I finish, I tape the last corner down and press my palm over the bandage. The heat of his skin coming up through cheap supplies. You're warm, I say, because my brain doesn't know how else to hold what it's holding. You're shaking, he answers. I'm collecting interesting tremors, I say, a laugh tripping over a sob. For a memoir. He tilts his head. Chapter titles. Commas and other explosives. How to not die in a suit. Why my bodyguard ruins all my attempted escapes. Those will sell, he says. And it nearly undoes me, the way he plays along. I sit back on my heels and scrub my face with the heel of my hand. My palm comes away streaked with ash and something salt. I hate crying. It's wetter than I like my honesty. Colt watches me with that disciplined gentleness I didn't know he owned. Ryan, he says. And my name in this room is a bandage too. Breathe. I am, I say, lying with less conviction than usual. He raises his good hand. I see the moment of choice, touch me or respect the space I'm pretending to need. He makes a third choice. He places his palm on the concrete between us, close enough that our fingers almost touch. The heat travels the gap like a wire. You're not my mark, I tell him suddenly, the sentence leaping out as if my body has been holding it like a hot coal. I'm not yours. His eyes are steady, rain-dark hair falling forward in a way that would be handsome on a less terrible morning. I know. I don't do marks, I say, words scraping. Not on purpose. Not by accident. Not because the room smells right. I know, he says again, like patience is a language he decided to be fluent in. A laugh skids out of me, broken and real. I'm not your mark, Colt. Something changes around his mouth, gentler than a smile. Then why, he asks, without heat, without push, do I feel like I'm already living by it? It hangs there, simple as a blade laid on cloth. My chest tightens, then loosens in that new, terrifying way. I look down at our nearly touching hands. The warehouse creaks. Outside, the rain fusses with the gutters. I don't want to be someone's leash point, I say. I don't want to wake up and realize the word mine got carved into me when I wasn't looking. I won't carve, he says. I won't clip. He nudges his hand forward a fraction so that our little fingers find each other, not quite holding, just anchored. I will stand where the door is. You will decide if you walk through it. Every time. That's not how this usually goes, I say, voice small and sharp. I have practiced the other way, he says. It broke things I cannot fix. We sit with that, the room smelling like damp iron and second chances. I realize, with a clarity that feels like someone cleaned my glasses, that my urge to bolt has gone quiet, not dead, just curled up, fed, not hungry. You could have died, I say again, because apparently I'm a stuck record. And you pushed me down, he replies. You put your body over mine like you were the storm and I was the roof. That's an unflattering metaphor. It is exactly right. The laugh that comes then is cleaner. It clears my ribs out. I hate you a little, I say. I know, he answers, soft. It smells like fear wrapped in relief. Stop smelling my feelings. He looks past me at the cracked window where rain makes a theater of the street. I can't stop, he admits, not with you. Something like surrender clicks in me. Not to him. To the truth that I have been orbiting for days like it was a sun I could outwit. I inch my hand the last distance and let my fingers lace with his. It's not a vow. It's not a mark. It's a choice with breath in it. I'm choosing this, I say. Not the leash, not the unit number on a file, this, to stay. Right now. His eyes close just for a second, like a man hearing music he thought was lost. When he opens them, the steel is still there, but so is a softness I didn't think would survive the blast. Then I choose to stop counting exits, he says. And I believe him in a way that scares me better than fear. We stay like that, hands a small bridge. The rest of us two separate countries finally agreeing on a border. After a minute, practicality taps my shoulder. We need to clean that again, I say, nodding at his bandage. Then we find water, clothes, and a plan that doesn't include heroics. Agreed, he says. No heroics. We're terrible at that. Yes. I get up and rummage through the kit until I find a packet of antiseptic that promises to burn. This will sting. I know, he says. You always know. Not always, he says, and lets me hurt him a little because healing asked for it. When I'm done, I wrap the tarp tighter and fish in my pocket for a candy. Someone pressed into my hand at a briefing 3 lifetimes ago. It's lemon. I unwrap it with ceremonial care, and press it into his palm. For your compliance, I say. He regards it like a new species. Payment accepted. I shift to lean against the loading dock, shoulder to peeling paint. He mirrors me. A deliberate slouch. It feels, God help me, like rest. Outside, sirens remember we exist. Somewhere, the summit burns and is extinguished and begins becoming story. Here, in a room that smells like wet iron and second chances, I stop running. He stops controlling. We wait for our next breath, and take it at the same time. I am not his mark. He is not my leash. But I have never felt less lost than I do with our hands still linked, our palms dirty, our hearts finally telling the same joke. Unbound does not mean alone. It means I choose the tie, and today, soaked and cracked and stupidly alive, I choose. Morning starts with sirens dying somewhere far away and light crawling through a crack in the roof like it's afraid of what it might see. The warehouse smells less like fear now and more like damp hope. Colt's wound has stopped bleeding. My hands, however, still remember the shape of it. When the door bursts open, I almost throw a wrench at the figure stepping through. Easy, she says, voice cool, familiar in ways I can't place. She's tall, in a dark jacket, carrying competence like perfume. The resemblance hits me when she looks at Colt. Same steel gray eyes, same weight in her stance. Brother, she says. He blinks once, slow, like waking up from a long memory. Rhea. She crosses the floor and cups his jaw with one hand, inspecting him like a mechanic assessing a rare engine. Still too stubborn to die? Apparently, he says. She looks at me next, assessing, not unkindly. You must be the reason. I clear my throat. Statistically speaking, I'm the reason for a lot of chaos lately. Then at least you're efficient. She straightens. We need to move. Security swept the south side an hour ago. They'll loop back. Colt swings his legs off the cot. You shouldn't be here. I heard the blast, she says simply. And I heard your name. So yes, I should. I gather our few things. Bandages, a flashlight, my phone. Rhea moves with purpose, leading us through a network of alleys that smell like rain and gasoline. When we reach a checkpoint, she flashes an ID that could probably open heaven if she asked politely enough. By the time we reach the safe house, a modest suite 3 blocks from the summit building, the city is crawling back to normal. News drones circle the skyline, hungry for images. On the table, a screen plays a muted report, translator and security beta arrested in summit attack plot. Jay's face fills the feed, pale, tired, still handsome in that tragic way that makes reporters purr. The words collusion and attempted assassination crawl under his name. I sink into a chair, air leaving me all at once. He really did it. Rhea nods. He wanted to shift blame for the northern scandal. Ryan's death would have been a distraction. Clean and convenient. Charming, I mutter. My stomach folds itself. I'd trusted him. I'd let him make me laugh. He'd brought me pastries. Colt sits beside me, moving carefully. He's in custody now. He won't touch you again. Yeah, I say, staring at the silent video. But he already did. Rhea's phone buzzes. The Summit Council wants a statement, she says. They're spinning the explosion as sabotage, not war. Colt looks at me. They'll expect you to speak. Me. You're the face of this now, he says, tone soft but certain. And the only one who'll tell the truth. The conference hall has been scrubbed into civility. No glass, no blood. Only the faint scorch of something that remembers. I stand at the same podium where the day began and died. The cameras blink red again. The statement they handed me is bland, diplomatic. Safe. I fold it in half and slide it into my jacket. I was asked to talk about stability, I begin. My voice sounds like someone else's until I keep talking. But I think we've had enough of pretending that order is the same thing as peace. Silence. Even the translators hesitate, waiting to see which way this goes. The truth, I say, is that we build cages and call them protection. We clip each other's wings and call it care. We mark people like property and pretend it's love. Somewhere, Rhea exhales. Colt stands just off stage, a shadow that listens. I won't sell the illusion anymore, I continue. We don't need control to be safe. We need choice. We need freedom that's chosen, not granted. I take a breath that feels like tearing something open. If that makes me unmarked, so be it. I would rather be unbound and honest than claimed and hollow. The room holds its breath. A few heads nod. A few cameras tremble closer. I leave the podium before they can decide if it was brave or suicidal. Outside, rain again. Always rain. It's lighter this time, almost kind. Colt waits near a column, damp hair curling at his temples. The look in his eyes isn't pride or relief, it's something quieter. Recognition. You did it, he says. Almost fainted, I admit. But yes. He steps closer. You said something true. I've been told it's a bad habit. For a moment, the world is just the space between us. Thin, electric, patient. I reach out, meaning only to brush the torn cuff of his sleeve. His hand catches mine halfway. And then it happens. No heat. No pain. Just light. A shimmer running up our joined hands, like a reflection caught in motion. It spreads to our wrists, fading into our skin, mirror pale, not burned. But etched in light, two halves of the same mark, facing each other. I gasp. What? It's not a bond, Colt says quietly. It's consent. I look at the pattern glowing faintly under his skin, then mine. Mutual stupidity then? Mutual choice, he corrects. The mark fades to a soft glow, then disappears. My pulse doesn't. I thought I didn't want this, I say. You didn't want to lose yourself, he replies. You didn't. I lean against him, just for a second. You're getting good at this emotional literacy thing. He huffs a laugh. You're a terrible teacher. The next morning smells like rain and printer ink. The safe house is quiet except for the hum of an old coffee machine, and the lazy rhythm of someone alive on purpose. Colt sleeps on the couch, human, shirtless, one arm slung over his eyes. There's a calm around him that isn't human or wolf, just earned. I sit at the desk, typing the new charter, free marks policy, voluntary bonds between consenting adults. My fingers move with the kind of certainty that scares me less than it used to. The printer spits out the first page. I blow on the ink, glance at him, and grin. Looks like I got attached after all, I say softly. Colt stirs, voice rough with sleep. Looks like I did too. He cracks one eye open, half smile lazy and alive. You're writing laws again? Rewriting, I say. For people who forget that freedom isn't loneliness. He hums, drifting back towards sleep. Make sure they spell my name right this time. I'll try, I whisper. Outside, the sun wins its argument with the clouds. Light slides across the floor, catching on the faint shimmer at our wrists, mirror marks that no law demanded and no leash defined. Unbound. Yes. But not untethered. And for the first time in too long, that feels like home.